she has lived in New Orleans for about 5 years now, and she loves the European cheese plates there. So please welcome Danielle.
I'm so happy to be here. Huge fan of the art conferences, especially the arts, like Jared mentioned, and the Twitter battles. I'm really honored to be able to speak, and I really wish that we could have been together in person, but I am a native New Yorker and I am there in spirit. So, what I'm going to tell you about is my blog and how I write my tutorials. And I'm hoping that it can inspire you to create your own tutorials and go from there. I've done a lot of talks on why writing is necessary for programmers. It's something that we don't often think about and aren't even really taught in school. So I just wanted to share that with you. So this is my site that you see right now. I'm going to take you through. I'm going to show you this first. So this is a tutorial I did really recently in the airport. I do them a lot on the go. And it was interesting because the way that I created this one was I was bored. I was bored in the airport. I didn't have headphones. And I thought, well, if I can't watch true crime shows right now, I guess I will look up a crime data package in R and see if there is one. And so that's my first lesson really, is that there's a package in R for everything you like. If you have some kind of random interest that pops into your head, whether it's karaoke singing or crime or even just, I don't know, traveling really, city data, social media, there's always a package that you can explore. And there are a lot of existing tutorials out there that you can adapt or adjust to your own style. So in this case, this package is it's just it was created by Matthew Ashby, and I found his tutorial, and then I plugged myself into R, and I did the whole work myself. And so that's a way to keep yourself genuine, is kind of be chatty in between, talk about or experience working out the visualizations and everything, so that you're not stepping on anyone's toes, you're not being redundant, but you're still giving out the same information. The reason I do this is because I used a lot of written tutorials when I was learning R. I was working at the New Orleans Police Department, and I was really trying to brush up on R in between my years of MBA. And so I thought, it was really convenient to be able to look at written tutorials and see different options for the same package, because I couldn't exactly watch videos at a workspace, which I'm sure you relate to. And when I'm home, I don't really want to pause my shows. I just want to keep working and have the TV on. So I think that it's really hard when you only have 4 or 5 resources. So I just wanted to give back to the art community and add more resources. My second point goes to another tutorial that I made. I have a background in financial trading, and that's why I ended up doing my MBA at Tulane and moving to New Orleans, as Jared mentioned earlier. So I decided to delve into just a package about trading, because that's something I already do on E-Trade, and I just thought it would be interesting to see how R could factor into that. And so this is something I love. I love looking at candlestick charts, so I wanted to replicate my own. It wasn't very complicated. That's something I also want to tell you. It's okay to start out with just a few lines of code and explain, a few commands. That's what I do oftentimes. I will say, okay, this is maybe 3 things you can do with this package, and I will come back later and teach you the rest, or you can ask me about the rest. That definitely makes it less overwhelming for people, and it makes it less overwhelming to write. And especially like what's really cool is you can link back to other packages that you wrote about. Like there are 2 really big financial packages that I've explored, QuantMod and TidyQuant. And then you can, you just have more options for content to talk about them both and compare them. And then sometimes this is just like my favorite one, where I was hungry and I pulled up a picture of pasta because the package that I was working with is called Data Pasta. It has nothing to do with pasta. It's just that I just wanted a picture of tortellini. This one was my favorite one because it definitely took a bunch of packages to start, and so I had a lot more steps in this one, but I felt that it was a really good thing for people to know because the whole thing is you can cut and paste tables from any site you want and then start playing with it in R, which is something I had really wished that I knew about in grad school. So I just want to sum up and start summing up so that so I don't run out of time. I think the most important thing, if you want to start writing tutorials, or even if you already do, you should think about the tutorials that you liked when you were first learning. So for me, I really loved looking at data viz tutorials on R bloggers because I'd known about R bloggers for a long time. And I thought that it would be a really good way to get started, just because data viz equals instant gratification. You're able to create something, and if you're a visual learner, you're able to get a result right away, whether it's a chart or whether it's one of the beautiful visualizations that I looked at on R bloggers. And it was just, you start with graphs and then you start really kind of getting comfortable with the syntax. And that's what that's what pushed me forward. And then I also was looking at W3 schools for a variety of different things. It's not my favorite for R, but it is really good for SQL. And I mean, though I do written tutorials, I've thought about going back and making videos talking through my tutorials. My favorite video blogger on R is Julia Sild. She makes the best videos, and I'm not even a video person, but if I really, really need to understand something and I need somebody to talk at me, that is where I go. I think also, and this is a really important point, if you want to learn another language, but you're too lazy to pull up that interface, which is something that I deal with all the time, you can create that environment, a light version of that environment in R. And that's something that I definitely want to go back and do tons of tutorials on, the SQL packages in R, especially the TensorFlow and Keras packages that allow you to import really anything from Python that you need into the R environment, because it's very, very hard for me personally to switch back and forth in between platforms, even if I know languages. But it was especially useful when I started having to do front end work a little bit at the police department. I was trying to update their basic social network graphs of which criminals know each other, basically. And I was trying to do that by using JSON and JavaScript. And then I noticed that the D3 package is so robust in JavaScript, and it was overwhelming to me. But there was a package in R that I could play with, and that made a huge difference. So I don't, I don't recommend like just learning the package for SQL or Python and R. I think that knowing a lot of different languages is important, and especially, playing on Jupyter notebooks and trying out MySQL and trying out MySQL with Tableau. I mean, these are all good things, but for teaching a class, say, which I have done, I've guest lectured on doing housing regressions in R, but using TensorFlow and Keras, then it's really cool to be able to integrate everything you need into the platform that you like the most. And so you can decide which environment you like the best, and just research ways to combine different languages into that. And that's something that I hope to have more on my site in the future. And I'm hoping that I can get better at databasing through that. And then really, I just want to say, this is just a taste. I know that imposter syndrome is real. And when I first started doing tutorials, I thought, wow, literally everybody I know is better at R than I am, I felt. And that's still probably the case. I mean, all of you are experts in, your own space within the R universe, and I'm a media person. I have a bird's eye view on all of you. I've interviewed a lot of you on my podcast, DataFem, and my job is to stay knowledgeable enough that I can, provide, I guess, updates on the industry, and really tell you what your peers are working on if you didn't know. So I wanted to start doing tutorials just because what I noticed was kind of empty space in the tutorials I saw already, is that there weren't really any kind of lifestyle blog style type blogs that had tutorials on R. Like, R bloggers is amazing, but it's pithy, and it's very it's done in the tones that we're used to hearing from tutorials. And what I wanted to do is shorten up those tutorials, make it casual, make it a friendly conversation, and just really draw people into learning to code by appealing to their senses, whether it's food, whether it's hobbies, whether it's true crime, whether it's a fad. And because I used to have more of a personal blog, I really wanted to combine that style with the knowledge I had. And what I realized was that it's really not as hard as you think to relay information, especially because there are so many tutorials out there. So instead of being overwhelmed by the amount of people who know more than you, I would take that as a blessing and think about what you can contribute that's not already there. And for me, it's just like a little bit of sass and sarcasm, and hoping to bring people that never really have tried R into the space by doing a few quick commands, and learning that way. So that kind of is most of what I had to say. I I know that I can sometimes ramble, and I didn't have slides because I wanted to show you around. I guess the one other thing I want to talk about is how I'm integrating more tutorials into DataFem by bringing in experts that can do slides and speak to it better than I can. And that also gives an opportunity for companies to sponsor and really get behind DataFem as an educational resource. So the one that I did most recently was an episode about the cloud. And it was one of my good friends, Chris, on Twitter, who ended up being the teacher in this aspect. And really the reason that it started is because I sent a tweet out to our Twitter that I'm very active on. And I said that I don't understand the cloud as well as I want to. And he responded and he said, well, I can teach you, or like I can walk you through it. And I was like, well, how about you walk my audience through it? So that's something that I would love you to check out, just as a last resource. And, if there's any other topics that you want to hear about, feel free to reach out to me on this site. And you can definitely suggest any topics, whether it's cybersecurity, automation. So I definitely want to integrate the tutorials that I do written wise and make that more part of DataFem, which is the center of my business. So yeah, I want to say thank you, and thank you for listening to my story. And I hope that it was helpful to see kind of how I fell into this space. And I hope that you all think about just how you can contribute to creating content around R.
Great. Thank you very much. And I want to say I'm sorry about your walk-on song. I was downloading a bunch of songs last night, and I actually had to do yours 2 or 3 times. And the first time I got Beyonce, then the next times I somehow got a lullaby. So sorry about that. Hopefully I will be able to get everyone else's songs correct. So folks, before we go to our first break, we're going to do a few giveaways.